Hello friends, this is your friend Yashu Goyal and this is our first meeting for GST. In this meeting, I would like you to be more interactive by way of your comments, which are very important for us to keep improving the kind of content that we'll be giving to you. GST is the most important reform, or I should say a tax reform since 1947 given by the Indian government. Why is it so? It has to be seen and we will understand that in the next few minutes. See, after the tax reform of GST, I cannot imagine anybody who will not be touched or affected by the impact of GST. On the one hand, where every trader is expected to get his cost lowered by the impact of GST, at the same time, every consumer is expected to be benefited as his purchasing power is going to increase. First of all, at the outset, we need to understand what is GST. GST is a single tax for one nation which will subsume, which will bring into it several kinds of taxes such as excise, service tax, VAT, luxury tax, entertainment tax, etc. etc. All these taxes are going to become one tax, and that will be goods and services tax. First of all, what we need to understand, what was the need of GST? Why did not the government do several amendments in several taxes, give us several credits, give us several amendments at several stages, and avoid introduction of a new tax? Till date, what was happening, if I am a chartered accountant, I paid taxes on several supplies. I paid VAT, I paid excise duty on several supplies, several machineries that I bought for my office. And at the same time, I am providing services to my clients and charging service tax. For the laws applicable as on date, I am not allowed credit in these two scenarios. The VAT and excise paid on my input supplies is not available as credit for the output tax charged from my customer. This input tax paid becomes my cost and makes me charge something more to my customer. I'm not able to provide my services at a lower price to my customer. After introduction of GST, there will be cross credit mechanism. And what is that? After introduction of GST, I will be paying GST on my input services, input items, and I will be charging GST from my customers on my services. And there will be an automatic cross credit utilization available to me. And because I've got my cost reduced, I can transfer the benefit to my customers. Another benefit of GST, my dear friends, is one nation, one tax. Today, if you are selling a commodity in Delhi, there might be a different tax rate in Delhi and there might be a different tax rate in Maharashtra. That makes me non-competitive. After GST, the tax rate is going to be same in Delhi as well as in Maharashtra. So, the benefits that we see coming out of this introduction of new law are numerous and looking very good. To understand the number of and the types of taxes that are going to be levied under GST, we have to divide the transactions into three different parts. First being intrastate transactions. Intrastate transaction means the goods or services are being provided or being sold within the same state. Let's say, for example, Delhi. Interstate transaction means that the goods are being sold from one state to another, or the services are being provided from one state to another. And the third part is imports. Now, my dear friends, first of all, I must tell you, today many of us are apprehensive that after introduction of GST, there are going to be three different kinds of taxes: CGST, SGST and IGST. Are these three different taxes? What is the mechanism for levying these taxes? we are going to discuss that. If the transaction is intrastate, that is within the state, the shopkeeper will charge GST in this format. Let's say, for example, the tax rate is 20%, GST rate is 20%. The customer is going to pay only 20%, and how? Let me explain. If the transaction is within the state, there will be CGST, Central GST, and SGST. What is CGST? All the central levies of taxes are subsumed into one tax, that is CGST. What were the central levies? Excise, service tax. All the state level levies are subsumed into one tax, that is state GST. What were the state levies? VAT, VAT, etc. When you are going to buy a product, let's say for 1000 rupees, you will pay 20% GST, 200 rupees, and in a nutshell, you will pay 1200 rupees to your shopkeeper. Now, it is the duty of the shopkeeper to divide this tax into two parts, that is CGST 10%, SGST 10%, and give you the invoice. That is it about intrastate transactions. Now, if this transaction is interstate, that is from one state to another, what happens? Please listen very carefully. The concept is of paramount importance. If the concept goes clear, we will be able to understand GST with no problem at all. GST is very simple. Please listen. In local transaction, what happened? You were charged 20% tax, 10% was CGST, 10% was SGST. Now what is happening? Goods are moving from one state to another, or services are being provided from one state to another. Now what happens? You pay 20% tax, but the name of the tax changes. It becomes IGST. The full form is, sir, Integrated Goods and Services Tax. What is IGST? What was the need of this separate name? Why was this given separately? Understand. At the outset, I must clear one thing. After introduction of GST, all kinds of transactions are going to be taxed. When I say all kinds of transactions, it means even if I am having a head office in Delhi and a branch office is in UP, and I transfer goods from Delhi to UP, that is a stock transfer, even that is going to be taxed. If there is a stock transfer, I have to pay IGST. Now, once we have understood that all transactions are going to be taxed, why IGST and how it is going to work, let me explain. Once I charge IGST, what is going to happen? The credit of the tax is going to go from one state to another. It is going to transport from one state to another and is going to be available to my customer in the other state. How it is going to be available? How are we going to avail that credit? We are going to discuss in the next few minutes. The third transaction that we discussed was imports. Now you know, every other tax has been subsumed except customs duty. So what is going to happen when someone imports something from outside India? One tax that is going to be charged is BCD, Basic Custom Duty, and the second tax is IGST. Now we have understood that for the three transactions, that is intrastate, interstate and imports, how the taxes are going to be charged. What needs to be understood now is how the credit of taxes is going to be available. Now, to understand credit of taxes, we must know that there is going to be an electronic credit ledger for each state for the dealer. Now, three different categories of taxes available as credit: IGST paid on purchases, CGST paid on purchases, and SGST paid on purchases. I have paid CGST and SGST on my purchases. On my sales, which are intrastate, I am going to charge CGST and SGST. Credit of CGST is available for CGST. Credit of SGST is available for SGST. And the IGST remaining at the top of the line will be available as credit in stepwise format. First of all, let's say for example I have got 1000 rupees credit as IGST. First of all, I will utilize it to pay IGST liability. Second step, I will utilize it to pay CGST liability, and at the third step, I will utilize it to pay SGST liability. Credit mechanism is very simple. CGST to CGST, SGST to SGST, IGST to first IGST, second CGST, and third SGST. Friends, we have understood that how the credit mechanism is going to work. Another thing that comes to my mind, everybody needs to get registered. What about SME sector? The people who have got very small turnover or who are dealing in exempted goods. Even in GST, if the goods are 100% exempt, what happens? Please be at peace. If the goods are 100% exempt in GST, there is no need to register, there is no need to pay tax. If you are a small dealer and your turnover is below 20 lakhs and below 10 lakhs in northeastern states of India, then no need to register, no need to pay tax. It is only when you cross the basic exemption limit you need to get registered and pay taxes. Friends, this was about our introduction of GST. We would like to know your comments. Like our video, comment on it, share with your friends. Let the knowledge expand, let the knowledge be shared. Thanks a lot.